flashy with the bars. Callow, cocking with a hot pen. Yeah. You can't kill it with this glove, it will not fit. Evidence will not stick. Rapping with a self-respecting southerner. So bro, what's in your pot? Those are not grits. Spit bars, I stand behind mine. Yeah. Sentences I serve, maximize guidelines. My lawyer can't give me his advice when he's beast that I murder, carry mandatory minimums of life. Yikes. In case you didn't get the point, we spit bars.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. I'm your man, AJ Throwback. Great to be here with y'all on another Sunday evening. My apologies once again for the late start this evening. Had a couple of hiccups or whatever, but you know, show still goes on no matter what, regardless of what's going on. Made sure to show up. That's part of the biggest thing when it comes to anything that you go through in life. You just got to make sure you show up, you know. So appreciate everybody for tuning in who's here on YouTube, and also my Instagram family. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Hey, let's already start with some comments. You know what I'm saying? My Instagram people always showing me love, so I definitely appreciate y'all. Once again, welcome to Lady Crawley, my man Big Philip Sean. Let's see who else. TZ the Star was on the check-in. A-Rise on the check-in. The Real Queen Goddess on the check-in. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. I see my man Hollywood Devin on the check-in on Instagram. I see my man Vince has got the heat on the check-in on Instagram. I'm telling y'all, Instagram show me all the love. YouTube, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna let Instagram beat y'all out? You know? Well, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Let's see. My sis A-Rod, she said, Lupe is who you remind me of sometimes when you spit. I appreciate that. That's a huge compliment. Lupe is an incredible lyricist, an incredible just artist, so I definitely appreciate that. And I've gotten that quite a few times, honestly. And what's interesting is that I can't say that I'm the absolute biggest Lupe Fiasco fan there is, but I respect him wholeheartedly in terms of his lyricism and in terms of what he does as a rapper, as an MC, as a hip-hop artist. So I definitely appreciate that. Shout out to my sis Jen _ the MUA on Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in, sis. Always good to see you up in the place to be. Please make sure that y'all share the live, spread the word. Today, well, I should say tonight, I'm starting my conversation about track number 4, Independence Avenue, produced by Gladiator, from my latest EP, The Late Bloomer 2, which is out on all platforms right now. So if you don't already have it on YouTube, y'all are going to see that scroll across the bottom of the screen. You can go to your favorite streaming site except Spotify, and you can stream it there, or you can go to my website, which is bammllc.net/music, or you can just go to the main website, bammllc.net, and you can connect to it from there. Also, if you want 4 bonus tracks, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, for my Instagram people, 1, 2, 3, 4. You want 4 bonus tracks, go to my Bandcamp page, ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. Once again, that's ajthrowback.bandcamp.com, and you can get the expanded edition of The Late Bloomer 2. But on all the editions, this song that we're about to talk about today, Independence Avenue, is definitely on there. Hold on, let me take a little sip of my water real quick, because I already feel a little tickle in my throat, so I got to get it together. Yes, indeed. And I love the camaraderie going on Instagram over here. I love it, you know what I'm saying? Folks who don't know each other from a can of paint, still vibing, because look, if y'all in this joint with me, we all family. Y'all already know how I roll. And shout out to Dior Brown on the check-in. Appreciate you for tuning in, Queen. Just about to start this conversation about Independence Avenue. So for those of y'all who have not heard it, as I always do, or as I always like to do, I usually play a snippet from the song so you can get some familiarity with the song, specifically the part of the song that I'm going to be talking about tonight. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play the snippet from track number 4, Independence Avenue, from my EP, The Late Bloomer 2. Let's get it.
It's probably better my conception was eventual and measure. Otherwise, I'm contesting why investors had me fettered. Either follow these behests or be beheaded. Depressing, I could just to be the 1827 step and fetch an effort. Extra effort, surface up for getting cheddar. Toast is on deck, you bread is home, and now made a red rebellion. So screw the Deuteronomy philosophy. Come up for my neck, get a tighter noose and stronger trees. Ain't no differences between my dividends and any women in my lens. Need them thick, I'm talking real figures. So while I'm sowing seeds, succeed, I'll begin to way the cotton picking man. It ain't a field nigga. Slave papers, contracts, sauce anonymous. Losing sovereignty for poverty, you're not autonomous. So why these slaves on the tube showing stacks off? Might as well be chained, eating brew, wearing sackcloth.
Yes. So, once again, that was track number 4, or one part of track number 4, Independence Avenue, from my latest EP, The Late Bloomer 2. Gonna really break this joint down. And that's interesting that you said that it's real catchy, The Real Queen Goddess, because it's a song with no hook whatsoever. So to say that that's a catchy song, that's actually paying me a high compliment, you know what I'm saying? And shout out to my brother Illville, the producer, on the check-in. Appreciate you for tuning in on Instagram. And also Honey Wordsmith on the check-in on Instagram. Definitely appreciate that. And Hayes the Kid on the check-in on Instagram. Definitely, I love all the love that's coming in on Instagram. Please definitely spread the word to your folks. Same thing for my people on YouTube. For those of y'all watching on YouTube, please make sure that y'all share the live. Spread the word. Yeah, I already see it's finna be a problem tonight. You know what I mean? Lord. Drink all the water I can and still just, it's just one of them days, man. So I'm gonna try to keep this as brief as I possibly can. But I want to be able to start off with the first couple of bars that I said, because it's actually a very layered beginning to this song, because there's a lot of comparisons to okay, I see it did not do what I wanted it to do. Yep, bear with me 1 second. It was supposed to do something and it didn't. You know what? I know my bars. I don't need all that. And I appreciate all of the love for the bars. I definitely appreciate that. Appreciate that, Jim. Appreciate that, Vintage. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody that's chiming in on this and everything. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So like I said, I know my bars. I don't need no notes. So starting off the song, I say it's probably better my conception was eventual in measure. Otherwise, otherwise. Dang, what? I said I know my bars, and here I go slipping over my bars. Otherwise, I'm contesting why investors had me fettered. Either follow these behests or be beheaded. Depressing, I could just be the 1827 step and fetch it. F it. So, all of that is basically to say, it's a very historical way of looking at how black people in this country, since we've been in this country, so much of our identity has been suppressed. Whether you look at it from our names, our culture, our religion, our identities being stripped from us, or you even look at it from the ability to express ourselves in the way that we naturally express ourselves. A lot of what had to be done in terms of expression was one or two things. Either we had to perform the way that Massa wanted us to perform, or we had to perform our truth in secret instead of performing it in front of whoever without having to worry about, oh, okay, this person is going to try to whoop me because I'm speaking my truth about my life. I'm speaking my truth about whatever it might be because this person is insulted or this person is threatened by who I naturally am for whatever reason that they're threatened, you know. And so that's why it was important for me to lay that out from the very beginning, that for me, now, you know, a lot of us get in this kind of sort of arrogant way of thinking like, oh, if we were in slave times, oh, we wouldn't be this kind of slave, or we wouldn't be that, or we wouldn't go for this, or we wouldn't go for that. You don't know anything until a cat o' nine tails. And if you don't know anything about a cat o' nine tails, go look it up. It's literally a whip with 9 separate straps with sharp edges at the end of each strap that are tearing into your back. And imagine you getting whooped with this. See, you know, a lot of us, you know, we came up with getting whooped with belts. We got, you know, we joke about race car tracks and extension cords and all of these other things that we got our ass whooped with. You know what I'm saying? Keeping it real. But at the same time, you don't know ass whooping until you got whooped with a cat o' nine tails. None of us know that pain. But I'm going to say this. If I had the same spirit now that I had, if I had the same spirit then that I have now, and I'm a pretty mild-mannered guy. I'm a pretty peaceful guy. You know, I believe in being diplomatic. You know, it's the Libra in me. It's all about diplomacy. It's all about balance. It's all about harmony. All of that good stuff. But at the same time, I'm also of the mindset that you're not going to talk to me any old kind of way. You're not going to suppress my voice. You're not going to keep me from speaking my truth as I know it to be, especially creatively. That's life or death for me. And it actually, I'm glad that I'm saying this because it connects directly with a conversation that DJ Shane and I had with Yusha Assad. And I should have sent this to Yusha, but this connects directly to a conversation we had with him and some lyrics that he had, basically talking about how being able to express himself, having the gifts that he has, or being the gift, because he made a distinction between having the gift and being the gift, and understanding that these gifts are not even ours. Even though we may possess them or we are them, it's still not ours. It belongs to God. It belongs to the divine. It belongs to the Most High, however you regard him, her, or whatever. But at the same time, to not be able to express yourself as an artist, you might as well die. And it sounds extreme. It sounds serious. But not being free in that way, you might as well be dead. Because how do you really exist? How are you able to be the person that God meant you to be if you can't do what God intended for you to do? So, moving ahead with the next set of bars. Let's see. Extra efforts. Turkeys kept forgetting cheddar. Toasters on deck. You bred this helmet. Now it's tomato red rebellions. So screw that Deuteronomy philosophy. Coming for my neck. Get a tighter noose and stronger trees. So, more layered bars for y'all. Because that actually kind of sort of connects to the whole thing of rebellion. Like in my mind as I'm writing those bars, tomato red rebellion, I'm instantly thinking of Nat Turner and all of the rebellions that happened during slavery. Instantly thinking of those things. The whole thing of extra efforts, turkeys kept forgetting cheddar. Like that's basically saying, oh, you want me to work for free. Oh, you want me to do this for free. Or, oh, you want me to do this for the lowest price you possibly can get me to do this so that you can get rich, so that you can come up off of my blood, sweat, and tears. Again, it's literal slavery, literal references to slavery, but it's also symbolic of what a lot of the record labels, a lot of the music industry is. It's a lot of indentured servitude, slavery type of stuff going on in the music industry. People want to tell you how you are supposed to express yourself, and then they want to pay you. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of artists that are getting paid. You know what I'm saying? A lot of artists are getting paid, but nowhere near as much as what they should be getting paid. Nowhere near as much. And shout out to Black Ink Pride on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in, my brother. Nowhere near it. So my thing is again, it's the whole give me liberty or give me death when it comes to being able to express myself, you know? And I want to make sure that I read a couple of comments. Let's see, from the Real Queen God. She says, because we have to express ourselves. Ain't no way we can't live and can't express. Exactly right. No way. As an artist, if we're not able to express ourselves, it's almost the equivalent of water. It's almost the equivalent of oxygen. You know what I'm saying? To be able to say what's on your mind, speak your truth, and speak it in the way that you know how to, without having to copy off of anybody else, without having to be a carbon copy or whatever of whatever the template is for a successful artist in this particular era or any era, if you want to keep it real. Like, we have to be able to express ourselves in our own way. And so when I say, so screw that Deuteronomy philosophy, coming for my neck, get a tighter noose and stronger trees. The reference there is biblical, because there's a part, I forget the exact biblical verse, but there's a part in Deuteronomy where it basically says a person is cursed if they're hung from wood. Because if you think about Jesus, if we want to take it spiritual, the reason they did Jesus the way they did Jesus was because they wanted him to be cursed. They were very specific in how they crucified him. They hung him from a wooden cross, not from bronze, not from metal, not from anything else that they could have built at that particular time in history. They specifically chose wood. And if you look at the whole thing of what has happened with black people historically, all of the hangings that happened, they weren't from anything else. I mean, you had people being dragged from cars and dragged from other things, but typically we were hung from trees. Trees, clearly the source of wood. So if you look at it from a symbolic way of looking at it, a lot of times when artists dare to be themselves, when they dare to speak their truth, when they dare to own their own voice, own their masters, they get crucified, they get hung, they get their names, a lot of times they get blackballed. And I don't really like using the term, but let's just use it for the sake of this conversation. They get blackballed. They don't get the opportunity to say what it is that needs to be said, because the way that the industry is set up and the way the industry has been set up for decades now is that the people who have the most to say are the people who get silenced. And you could look at it literal or you could look at it symbolically. What happens when you hang somebody? You silence them. They have no voice anymore. So if you don't allow the lane for somebody who actually has a positive message to live and thrive, then isn't it darn near the same as hanging them? I mean, let's just call it what it is. And for me, I refuse to let anybody silence my voice. I don't care if I'm on radio regularly or, like terrestrial radio. Let me put it like that, because there are plenty of radio stations who have supported my music. Shout out to the Underground Lab. Shout out to Air It Out Radio. Shout out to All Unsigned FM. All of these stations still playing my music. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Win DC Radio, where I am music director at, playing my music as well. And it's a bunch of other stations, a bunch of other people that's been playing my music. The truth cannot be silenced, especially in this day and age. The truth, your truth, the truth cannot be silenced. There are too many avenues for people to connect to now, whereas terrestrial radio, traditional TV, thinking about BET, thinking about MTV, thinking about VH1, thinking about all of these networks that were big with music videos at one point, but now they barely play music videos. all of these platforms, owned by the same company, mind you, all of these platforms are not playing the artists that are really saying something. But there are all of these other ways in order to get to people. And that's the beauty of a song like Independence Avenue, is to say, you know what? I don't necessarily need those avenues in order to be heard. I don't necessarily need those avenues to be exposed. And none of us who are independent artists do. And that's a little bit further down the line, but it's just to kind of sort of set up what the narrative of these conversations are going to be. You know what I mean? So before I really get into it, let me get to some comments. Honey Wordsmith, she said, absolutely, slow death. Appreciate that. Appreciate those comments. Real Queen Goddess said, gems. Your lyrics are so deep. Trees and wood. Dang, that's crazy. I'm telling you, when and as I said last week, I don't take credit for any of my lyrics. I don't take credit for how I lay out beats. Now, granted, I didn't make this beat, but when it comes to anything I create, I don't take credit for it. That's God. That's God moving through me to say what needs to be said at that particular moment. You know what I mean? So I definitely appreciate that. Honey Wordsmith said, move outside the industry. You know what's funny about you with that specific comment? All I could think about was when Killer Mike, and I'm mad that this show is not on anymore, and maybe it's delayed, who knows, but trigger warning with Killer Mike. He had a part in his series where he was talking about moving outside of the jurisdiction of the United States and basically being your own sovereign state. In a lot of ways, being in the industry, you kind of sort of have to do the same thing. You kind of have to move outside the industry. I mean, there's certain aspects of the industry you cannot avoid, but then there are other parts of it that it's like you kind of sort of have to pick and choose what works for you. You have to pick and choose what parts of the industry actually help you and what parts of the industry are not in line with your brand and how you move as an artist or as a business. Because unfortunately, a lot of us artists, especially independent artists, we want to focus so much on the art, but we have to focus on the business as well. And if we're going to be in this business, there has to be a certain level of understanding about how this business works in order to know whether or not you're going to maneuver within it or you're going to maneuver outside of it. You know what I mean? So I definitely appreciate that comment. Shout out to OG, the Queen, on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in, my sister. The Real Queen Goddess also say the industry do that to a lot of artists who do walk in their truth and are lyricists. Absolutely. And that is the unfortunate part. And then Honey Wordsmith, she just said, I understand it's the same for me as a writer. And yeah, like and especially for us as Black folks, because our truths are different. And it's not to say that our truths are so much different than everybody else, because there are a lot of people in different ethnicities, different cultures who can relate in a lot of ways. But we have a very specific story. And even if we don't necessarily put it in the lens of just out and out Blackness or out and out African American way of looking at things, there's still things that color our perspectives, whether we want to admit it or not. And for me to honestly be able to create a song like Independence Avenue is speaking from the perspective of a Black man who has seen so many other Black men and women get jerked by this industry, get told what they can and cannot say in this industry, and for them to not be the highest version of themselves that they can be, because they feel like they have to be this way in order to be successful. And I put successful in air quotes because that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself. What determines success? If you are going by the Eurocentric or the white-centered consciousness way of obtaining success, you're going to fall for all of the things they say are attached to being successful, even if they aren't always the ones to show off them things themselves. They'll be the main ones to push certain things down our throats and say, oh, you should have this, oh, you should have that. But they don't even wear half the stuff. They just sell it. You know what I mean? That's the crazy thing about it. Shout out to my main man, DJ Shane, on the check-in. Appreciate you for tuning in, my brother. But yeah, let me kind of sort of move ahead to the next set of lines. So I say, ain't no differences between my dividends and any women in my lens. Need them thick. I'm talking real figures. So while I'm sowing seeds to succeed, I'll be damn the way to cotton picking minute. Ain't a field nigga. Once again, slave references. Because my thing is, I'm not out here to get like crumbs. I'm not out here to get like hand-me-downs. I'm not out here to get just like pennies and little itty-bitty things because somebody basically got their hands in my stash, or they got their hands in my pot. I sit here and I go out and do all the work in the field, but yet I don't get paid for it, or I don't get paid what I'm deserved, or I don't get paid what I'm worth because somebody else wants to determine what my art is worth? No, absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? I need them stacks to be thick. You know what I'm saying? How Bama's be holding the money phones by their ears. I'm like, look, we clown them, but hey. Now, granted, you know, half the time them stacks ain't real, but the point is, who doesn't want them stacks? Because for me, it's not even about me necessarily being rich. It's not about this whole grandiose way of looking at money. Anybody who's worth their weight in melanin, they're looking at money as a means to help out beyond themselves. If I'm getting a lot of money, I'm thinking about my community. I'm thinking about my family. I'm thinking about more than just me. I'm thinking about laying down a legacy beyond myself, because I can't take that money with me. But at the same time, I can set up not only my family, but I can set up my friends' families. I can set up other people who I don't even necessarily know, but if they're on the same track, they're of the same mindset that I am, that my homies are. It's like, look, let's get money together. But I can't do that if I'm dealing with somebody who doesn't want me or my people to succeed, because let's keep it real. A lot of people in that music industry, in the creative industries, period, in the entertainment industry, like my sister Honey Wordsmith said, why this is the type of stuff that makes me just want to stick with Instagram, because I don't have these problems with Instagram. It's only when I have both Instagram and YouTube going, and all of a sudden it's almost like my computer gets jealous. Like, oh, how dare you run a live broadcast on both me and the iPhone? I'm like, but y'all both Apple products. What's up? You know what I mean? Like, why you hating on the other? Don't mind me. I'm just tripping right now. I'm just kind of sort of just going off, but I think I'm good. Anyway, so yes, DJ Shane, he said protect the village. Absolutely, protect the village. It's bigger than, yeah, YouTube is very sensitive. You're right about that, Queen Goddess. But it's all about deeper than just me making a bunch of money. Because there are a lot of people who are very selfish who are in the industry. There are a lot of people that they only think about themselves, because I'm going to keep it real. An artist who is willing to be artistically irresponsible at the expense of their own reputation, at the expense of their families, at the expense of their communities to promote certain narratives that have been promoted for years and years and years and are getting progressively worse. Because let's keep it real. A lot of the energy that's being put out there is leading to a lot of deaths. I am not the type of person that wish death on anybody, like a lot of these artists who have been killed, unfortunately. It is tragic. It is sad. But on the flip side of that, a lot of these artists have been puppets. They've been used by the industry, and a lot of them have allowed themselves to be used by the industry in order to promote certain narratives. But unfortunately, it's also a spiritual thing. And I could take it back to the trees and the wood if I really wanted to, because it's putting a curse on that artist. That artist is cursing themselves. They're cursing themselves because you talking about my Draco Ho 223s. You glorifying violence. The way that these dudes talk about violence and rap is crazy to me. It's literally crazy, because it's like, bro, you are celebrating somebody's death and talking about it in such a way as if you playing Call of Duty. This ain't Call of Duty, dog. Once you gone, you gone. You ain't coming back. Once that person's gone, they not coming back. So why are we bragging about that? I mean, I could get into the whole thing about the lewd and lascivious lyrics, but I mean, let's really talk about the violent lyrics. That's the worst of the worst, because you got a lot of these dudes who talk about it in their rhymes, and then next thing you know, they the victims of their own bars, of the energy that they're putting into their own lyrics. They're cursing themselves. They're basically hanging themselves from a tree. And my thing is, I refuse to do that. I refuse to do that. And you know, that honestly, even me saying what I'm saying, yes, Honey Wordsmith, the tongue is your most powerful weapon. Exactly. Life and death is in the tongue. The power of life and death is in the tongue. Either you give yourself life or you take it away. And the unfortunate part about it is that these record execs at the highest levels, they know this, and they're banking on it. They're hoping for it, because it kind of sort of goes to something I saw. I forget which rapper said it, and it might not even been a rapper. It might have been somebody else, but they basically were saying how a lot of these artists to these record labels are worth more in death than they are in life. Look how big Pop Smoke got after he was murdered. I have heard more Pop Smoke music on the radio since he died than when he was alive. That's the sad part. Nipsey Hussle is basically canonized more in his death than he was in his life. There were a lot of people that didn't even know who Nipsey Hussle was until he got killed, unfortunately. It shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? And shout out to my sis Anonymous Touch on the check-in. Thank you so much for tuning in, Queen. Let me go back to some of these comments. Yes, they are selling their souls. And then the real Queen Goddess, she also said women selling their sex appeals mean selling violence. Yes, exactly. Because unfortunately, in a lot of ways, they go hand in hand. Because you have a lot of women promoting certain lifestyles. You know what I'm saying? Not only just the whole sex sales, but also the whole, you know, I'm gonna come up off this dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get rich off this dude. Oh, he want this? He gonna have to pay for it. You know what I mean? And look, do you, sis, at the end of the day. But I also feel like, why is this the only thing that, frankly, black women are allowed to promote as artists? Black women are probably the most limited artists within hip hop of any demographic, because they really have been limited to just talking about sex. Like when I talk about the whole thing about not having the freedom to really speak your truth, why is a Little Sims not pushed to the forefront more? I've heard her music on the radio. Let me get that straight. I have heard her music on the radio, but why isn't she getting the same amount of play as, say, somebody like a Megan Thee Stallion, as, say, somebody like a Cardi B, as a Nicki Minaj, as a City Girls, you know what I'm saying, as a Saweetie? And I'm not knocking any of them sisters, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be specific. Like, a lot of them, I like some of their music, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, my thing is always about balance. And it's also about, okay, a lot of these artists are not given the freedom to express beyond just their sexuality. Thinking about the women, they're not given the freedom to express beyond their sexuality. They might not feel comfortable expressing that, because another layer to this whole conversation of being independent and being of an independent thought and having the freedom to say who you are, what's your truth, is people feel like if you're too vulnerable, then you're giving ammunition to your haters or your enemies or the trolls or whatever. And my thing is, the ammunition is going to come regardless of what you decide to talk about. So my thing is, why not be vulnerable? Why not tell more of your truth? Why not give the full picture? Because my thing is, I have no problem about people talking about street life. I want to be clear. I have no problem about people talking about street life. I have no problem about people talking about sex. I have no problem about people talking about scamming or, you know, a lot of these unsavory topics that we don't necessarily always like to talk about. But my thing is, there has to be a balance. And when you refuse to show both the pros and the cons, then you are basically a slave of the machine. That's why I said slave papers, contracts, all synonymous. Losing sovereignty for poverty, you're not autonomous. Hold on. You say you can't hear me? Hold on. That's weird, because I'm seeing the iRig stream move, so I don't know why you wouldn't be able to hear me. That's weird. Are y'all still having problems hearing me on Instagram? Right, they are signing. Okay, I'll say so y'all can't hear me. Okay. Getting back to what I was just saying. Slave papers, contracts, all synonymous. Losing sovereignty for poverty, you're not autonomous. You sign that contract. Most people, a lot of times when it comes to artists, they don't read their contracts. They don't have a lawyer in the room. They don't have anybody who understands that fine print. They're just signing their lives away. Signing their lives away. I never forget, I forget the name of the documentary, but it was featuring the band 30 Seconds to Mars. And they gave this visual of all of the money that you end up owing from album to album to album, that you end up owing to the record labels. Exactly, TZ. They don't read the contract. That you end up owing to a record label. A record label, at the end of the day, is a glorified loan company. And my man T. Witt said that. I think we had either he had a conversation about it, or he posted somebody who said it, or he said it himself. But yes, most record labels are nothing but glorified loan companies. When you get that advance, that's a loan. That is not just your money to just go spend willy-nilly. The record label expects you to recoup that. They expect you to recoup that. They're expecting that's a return on investment advance. That's what that advance is. They expect to be able to deliver on those record sales, because part of the contract is not only is the record label responsible for certain things on their end, you as the artist are responsible for delivering on the return, because they're loaning you that money. They're loaning you that. And the longer they can keep you in debt, like any debt company, like any loan company, the longer they can keep you in debt, the better. Because they're always going to have somebody that they can keep in that position, that they can squeeze money out of. That gets into the whole thing of people not owning their masters. The labels owning people's masters. Like you can't even control your own masters. What you recorded, the record label has control over what can be done with that music, not you. People not taking care of their publishing. People not taking care of their copyrights. People not taking care of their business all the way around and signing these contracts and not fully reading them. Like you a slave at that point. And yes, okay, you look like you making money. You look like you're doing well. You look like you're rich, but you're not really rich. Most of these people that flash all the money that they got, they don't have that money. We all know that. They don't have it. That is just to build an image. That is just to sell a certain fantasy to the listener or to a potential newcomer to the industry. Letting them know, oh, you can do this too. And you can't. You can't, because it's not set up that way, especially when it comes to black music. Black artists do not even make as much money or get the same amount of pub or get the same amount of respect doing their music that somebody who looks more like the larger demographic that's not only buying our music, but buying the music of people who look more like them. Like they would rather roll out somebody who makes them feel more comfortable, even if they aren't as in tune with the spirit of this music as we are, as we naturally are, or as many of us naturally are. Because I'm not gonna say all of us, all skin folk and kinfolk. We know that. we see that from where the industry is now. But they don't respect us. And my thing is going to the bargaining table, you gotta know who you're dealing with. You gotta know that they're not, like the real Queen Goddess said, they won't let us hold that much money even if we work hard for it. Exactly. That would be too much like right. The freaking field hands, the house niggas, getting all this money, getting this share that, you know, we're entitled to because we're the ones putting the muscle behind it. And that's how they get you, because they're putting the muscle behind it, because they say, oh, but we're the ones who are promoting you. We're the ones that's getting your records to radio. We're the one that's getting your videos to all the platforms. All these major platforms that will play your videos. We're the one that's fronting the money for the marketing. We're the one that's putting the clothes on your back. We're doing all of this to make you appear a certain way. So why should you get most of that money? Forget the fact that you wrote the rhymes. You know, big deal. You wrote the rhymes, cool. But how are people going to hear the rhymes? Or how are people going to hear that singing? How would they even get that if we didn't put the muscle behind you? So when it comes down to it, we should get more of the money. Not realizing that without our art, they wouldn't have a damn industry. Hell, without us, they wouldn't have half the genres they have right now. They wouldn't even have them. Rock and roll, come on, that's us. Popular music, what music at this point in time is more popular than hip hop? I'm just saying. You want me to really get real? You wouldn't have a New Kids on the Block, a Backstreet Boys, a 98 Degrees, an NSYNC, any of these little boy bands that came in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s and beyond, you wouldn't have had that if you didn't have groups like New Edition first. You wouldn't have had that if you didn't have a Jackson 5 first. That's our swagger. That's our soul. And they flipped that and turned it around and got them more rich. But guess what? A lot of them, they were set up to succeed a lot more because they wanted them to succeed, because they looked more like them. But anybody who didn't look like them, it's like, oh, whatever. We'll just throw them a Cadillac, or we'll just throw them a car, or we'll just throw them some clothes, or we'll throw them a little bone with a little bit of money. You know what I mean? And it's like, we have to get to a point where we say, and I'm not telling anybody don't sign with a major. I want that to be clear. I'm not telling anybody don't sign with a major. I can only speak for myself and what works for me and what I know that I need to be able to do. And the biggest part of that is be able to create the music that feels natural to who I am. That I'm not stepping so far outside of myself that it doesn't even make sense artistically. It's the whole thing. I always think about something when I was working for the DC Council back in 2002. I never forget one of the things that a lot of the constituents would say when it came to building new buildings in their neighborhoods. They never wanted these newfangled buildings that did not fit the aesthetic continuity of what is already in the neighborhood. You sit there and put this glass building, glass structure that's all pretty, that look like, I don't know, a baby version of the stadium the Rams play in, or the stadium that the Raiders play in now in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Like a baby version of that in somebody's neighborhood, when you have all of these brownstones in a neighborhood. They didn't want that because it didn't fit. It didn't make sense. Now imagine me with a brownstone spirit trying to exist in a glass world, or trying to be glass. Like, nah, I'm brick, dude. I'm straight up brick. I got history. I got character. You know what I'm saying? I got time in. I got experience. You ain't gonna get that with glass. You know what I'm saying? That glass house will get broken real quick. You know what I mean? So I could keep going, but let me read some comments. You know what I mean? Because I know I just probably went in just now. You know, but let me see. This is quite a bit of comments. So let me go back. Yeah, it's a lot of comments I can see. Okay, so yeah, so my man TZ said, reading is fundamental. Absolutely. The real Queen Goddess, she said, literally, blacks need to read more because we don't even read hospital. You tell it too much, sis. You tell it too much right now. They get so happy when they hear money. Exactly. Yep, TZ. They don't even copyright their music. People don't even copyright their music. Protect yourself. CYB. You know what I mean? The BMI, exactly. Yeah, they think it's free money. You know what I'm saying? So many things. Let's see. And you have to pay it back at a certain, right. You have to pay that money back at a certain time. It's just like a loan. A loan, in order for you to avoid interest charges on that money, you got to pay it back by a certain time. Or to avoid like constantly being in this cycle of paying them, you got to pay more than what they're telling you need to pay. You know what I mean? Yes, exactly. Real Queen Goddess puppets. GJ Shane said most artists are tax write-offs. Right. They are tax write-offs. You know what I'm saying? That's why I feel like with a lot of these companies, artists are worth more to them in death than in life. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they got insurance policies that we don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Yes, they don't learn the business before the music. TZ said, let me see. OG said, this definitely has to be revisited on R2BB. Yeah, this is a layered conversation for R2BB because, I mean, hey, we could talk about, and this is a conversation that I kind of sort of had with Priest and Nomad about infrastructure in this city because there's a lot of people getting jerked in this city. You know what I mean? But let's see. Real Queen Goddess said they know we can make smart investments, right? They take a higher percentage because it's them. They have the power. Exactly. They have the power. That's it. When you hold the purse strings, you have the power. And that's the importance of this song. Who holds the purse strings? Who controls the purse strings? Is it you or is it somebody else? And is it somebody, if it's somebody else, is what you have entered into more of a contract where you owe somebody something, you're basically working for somebody, or you're at the mercy of somebody, or is it a partnership? One of the things that I respected the most about Nipsey Hussle before he passed, when he signed with Atlantic Records, he was very careful about who he signed with and what the terms of the contract were. When he entered into his partnership with Atlantic Records, that was a partnership. That was a 50-50 venture where all parties involved basically split that joint right down the middle, because Nipsey already knew what he was worth. He came to the table like as a successful independent artist. When you can sell 100 copies of an album for, I think it was $100 or some, one of those, it was either 1,000 for 10, 100 for 100, it was something like that, and people actually buy them joints, that's when your asking power goes through the roof. That's when your asking power goes through the roof, when you know what you're worth and you come to the table knowing what you're worth, and you're not going to take anything less than that. Anything less than that. And anything less than that is like, I might as well just stay on my own. You know what I mean? So, let me see. Real Queen Goddess also said they use money over our heads when it comes to the melanin community, but we are rich in spirit. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are rich in spirit. That Honey Wordsmith said that is why the internet is so important and we have to use it wisely. And you've actually kind of sort of jumped ahead a little bit, because I'm going to cover that probably in the third discussion of this song. Because the internet, yes, absolutely. When it comes to us as independent, whatever, independent musicians, independent merchants, whatever our brand or whatever we sell, the internet is our best friend. But it's like Honey Wordsmith just said, we have to use it wisely. Absolutely. Real Queen Goddess said that's why they can't break us. Absolutely. TZ said they do it to brainwash you if you are not smart. Exactly. And then Real Queen Goddess responded to that, said facts, that's why we have to know thyself. Yes, absolutely. A lot of people don't know themselves, and that's why they go with the flow and be lost. TZ said they don't take the time to identify with their self. Anonymous Touch said knowledge of self is so important. Yes, yes, absolutely. Real Queen Goddess said silver spoon, wooden spoon. That's a powerful statement right there, because a lot because if we go back to the wood, you getting that silver spoon, is it really more of a wooden spoon? Are you being cursed with how you're being fed, or who's feeding you? I mean, I don't know if that's what you meant, but that's what I'm getting from seeing that. You know what I mean? So that's a powerful statement. That's why big artists steal their music and make it their own. Right. They do. So since they have the power, can we really rise up? And that's a great question, OG the Queen. That's a really great question. I feel like we can, because there are artists who have done it. Like I said, Nipsey is an example. Chance the Rapper. People don't talk enough about Chance the Rapper and the music that Chance the Rapper has made and the terms that Chance the Rapper has laid out for himself. Chance the Rapper is still independent. He has never signed with a major label, and he is a Grammy-winning artist, a well-selling artist. He does very well financially, very well. He is not somebody who struggles with money. But it's because I think a huge amount of it, to that question, OG the Queen, a lot of it has to come from support. Notice this is a staggering statistic. Now, this was back in the 90s, but it's probably about the same, if not worse now. But at one point, 71% of the people who were buying music were white. 71%. That is a staggering number, because not only is it basically the demographics of America, but it's actually higher than the actual demographics of America. America is about 64 to 65% white. But slightly more people, white people, are buying all of the music. Not just our music, all of the music. But specific to hip hop, it was 71% at one time. Why, when it comes to our music, are we not the biggest purveyors? Why are we not the biggest consumers? Why are we not the biggest merchants, especially when it comes to hip hop? Why are we not the biggest consumers? This is our music. This came from us. Why are we not going out in droves to buy our own music? And we could blame it on, oh, but it's more them than it is us in the country. You could blame it on that, or you could blame it on the fact that a lot of us don't support us. Let's just keep it real. We help to keep ourselves in this enslaved state, this enslaved mentality artistically, because we won't even support our own. And I don't just mean the consumers. I mean other artists not supporting other artists. There's no... It's funny because, and I'm glad OG the Queen is on here, because one of the things, we had a conversation offline, and one of the things that she said was that you don't know how much I support, and I do have an idea of just how much you support, and that's why I respect people like you, OG the Queen. That's why I respect everybody who's in here right now, because every person who's in here right now has supported me, and I've supported them to whatever degree I possibly could support them, because this thing does not work unless we understand this is an ecosystem. And the only way for an ecosystem to properly do what it's supposed to do is when all of the parts of the system understand that they play a role in order for that system to be free flowing, to flow the way it's supposed to be, to provide the amount of life that it's supposed to provide. But when you don't have as many people sold out on that philosophy, whether it's the artists, whether it's the consumers, whether it's the radio, whether it's the DJs, whoever is involved, whether it's the companies themselves, when you don't have as many people sold out on that philosophy, that's what makes it hard to rise up. Because there's no reason we shouldn't be able to support ourselves and be self-sufficient. Because to me, the inability for us as a creative community to be as supported as we need to be supported, for us to be able to rise up the way that we can and should rise up, is a microcosm of the bigger issue in the Black community. And that's a layered conversation that, you know, we could go on and on and on and have this joint. But I mean, that's part of the reason why I use the slave comparison, or the slave imagery, slavery imagery, to drive home the point of this song. I didn't even get to the last little set of bars that I said. I said losing sovereignty for poverty. So while these slaves on the tube showing stacks off, might as well be chained, eating gruel, wearing sackcloth. Because it's all a front. It's all a front. Now, granted, a lot of these artists who are well known, who are getting famous, who are getting money, yeah, they got followers out the wazoo. You know what I'm saying? And a layered amount of followers. But then that brings me back to the point of what OG the Queen said. Can we really rise up? When it comes to the music that's actually quality, when it comes to the people that's actually saying something, that's actually using their voice for good, to promote a more layered narrative and show that we as a people are not a monolith. Those are the people that are being silenced by so many people. Yes, the labels, the radio, a lot of them are silencing those voices. But then by not being supported by their own, by not being supported by the very community who's screaming for better, or that there are not enough people in that community that are willing to support positive music, therein lies the problem. And then we get caught in the same cycle that we've honestly been in, specifically when it comes to hip hop, for really the last 30 years. It's been an endless cycle, unfortunately, and until we learn to break that cycle within ourselves, then we can't expect to come to the table, whatever table, as independents or trying to be on a major. We can't expect to come to the table and really bargain if they're looking at it like, well, look at all of what's going on out here. You want all this support. You expect all of it. You expect us to throw the same weight behind you that we would throw behind name a famous artist or artist that's popping right now. You want us to throw the same amount of support behind you as that artist, and that artist got everybody rocking with them, and you got like 5 people. It's the unfortunate cycle of what we're stuck in when it comes to this industry, and that's why for me, and again, I can't speak for anybody else but myself, that's why for me it makes more sense to be independent, because I can control not only my own narrative, but I can handpick the people who are going to support me. And as I handpick the people that are going to support me as an artist, more people who are like the people that I'm handpicking are going to follow those same people. They're going to follow that same trend, because like-minded people follow and attract themselves to like-minded people. And that's the energy that we as independent artists have to speak over ourselves. Yes, it seems bleak. Yes, it seems hard to do what we do and speak our truth and be the highest version of ourselves. But at the end of the day, it is possible. Once again, I bring up Chance the Rapper. And I'm not saying Chance the Rapper is the most perfect example of it, but he's a great example of it. He's an example that is possible. And that it's possible to remain independent, and that it's possible to maintain your artistic integrity at the end of the day and still be successful. It's possible. Is he an exception to the rule? Yeah. But is it possible? Absolutely. And that's really the point. Thrive off of the possibility. Thrive off of the examples that we have in order for us to maintain hope that if we choose to be independent, we're choosing our own freedom. Because again, I go back to the beginning. Give me liberty or give me death. Because I mean, if you cut my voice or you tell me how I gotta create my art, you might as well kill me. It sounds extreme, but I'm like, you might as well just go ahead and take my life, because ain't no way I'm about to roll out some bull to sell some records. No way, And I'm gonna leave my part of that at that, but I definitely want to make sure that I read some of these comments. TC the Star said, you will be able to, but you got to play the game wisely. That's why you make your own label and be under someone. DJ Shane, he said, yeah, it was $100. He said Hove actually bought a set of that album, talking about Nipsey Hussle. That was about, I want to say that was the Crenshaw album, if I'm not mistaken. OG the Queen said, considering a 60-40 deal distribution, good, bad thoughts. Depends on who's getting the 60, who's getting the 40. And what you get in the long term. Because yeah, you could get a distribution deal, but it's like, what are all of the terms of the deal? Do you get to retain your masters? Are they trying to like muscle in on your publishing somehow? You know what I'm saying? If they're not muscling in on the things that continue to make you money, then I say, hey, consider it. But if they muscle in the things that affect your long-term money, then it's like, yeah, nah, I wouldn't even consider that deal. Because when it comes down to it, one of the biggest reasons why I'm even talking about this or making a song about this is because it's long-term money. If you're not making long-term money in terms of if you're going to sign with a major or if you're going to sign with even an independent label, how are you going to make money long term? Is somebody else going to continue to make money off your publishing? Is somebody else going to continue to make money off of your masters? Is somebody else going to continue to make money off of your copyrights because you didn't do the copyrights right? Or is somebody going to continue to make money off of the digital streams? All of the stuff you could possibly get money from. Is somebody else going to come up off of that more than you long term? If the answer is yes, then changes got to be made. That's really what it boils down to, because that short-term money, yeah, it's cool, but you want it in the short and the long. That's the way I look at it. So I would, like I said, it depends on the complete terms of the deal. You know what I mean? So, but that's a good question. I appreciate you for asking that. Shout out to my sis Shamar. I think she might still be in here. I appreciate you for tuning in. Elville said Chance is super smart. Absolutely, he really is. Real Queen Goddess said we supporting the wrong things. We need to support each other. Unity, absolutely, couldn't agree more. She also said adapting the environment as well. I appreciate you, OG. She said I love you, bro. I love you, all y'all, my melanin fam. See, that's what I'm talking about. And then my man DJ Shane said everyone works in a village. And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of what the industry is, and I kind of want to, wrap this up just a little bit, but a lot of what the industry is not of African principles, not of African-centered principles. Because if you thinking Afrocentric with it, it's like my man Shane said, everyone works in a village. Every person who's in the village, their role matters to the success of the village. And if everybody isn't embracing that, then they're not embracing the Afrocentric way of approaching the village, the Afrocentric way of approaching success. No business, no brand, no lifestyle, no artist, no one person is successful by themselves. No one person is successful without the village. It goes to the African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. A lot of these artists, they going real fast. And they also getting kicked out the game real fast too. Just as quickly as they come, they fizzle. But those artists that have the staying power, the true staying power, they have the support of the village. And that is what's going to last when you have that type of support. So I definitely appreciate you for saying that. Shout out to Sound Unit Radio on the check-in on Instagram. I appreciate you. And thank you, OG the Queen. She said, I got to run again. If this is over, when I'm done, I will catch a replay. I appreciate you all. God bless. Thank you so much, my sister. You know what I'm saying? Shamara said, preach. I appreciate you so much. Let me see any more. That passive vibes is, yes, passive vibes, passive income. You ain't even gotta, you ain't really gotta do nothing. All you gotta do is, make sure your business is straight, take care of that, and watch the money make itself at the end of the day. If you have a great product, it will sell itself. You ain't even gotta do a whole bunch of selling. You know what I mean? And she said I had to learn that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we all did. That's just it. Every last one of us who are artists, especially those of us who have remained independent artists, we had to learn about the business side. It's easy to be the artist. It's harder to be the business person, but you got to do both in order to be successful. You got to take care of yours in order to be successful, and you got to know the game you are playing. You got to know how these Bammers think, how they move, how they shake, in order for you to shake differently. Because we shouldn't be getting jerked no more in 2022. Come on, how many unsons we gonna see on TV1 or behind the musics on VH1 or whatever story? You know what I'm saying? Whatever, where the money wasn't right. People wasn't reading their contracts. People, you know what I'm saying, like felt like this person jerked them, that person jerked them. How many times are we going to hear these stories before it's like, okay, I don't want that to happen to me, so I'm going to move differently. Even if I decide to sign with a major, I still got to move differently than people before me. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not even saying, and I want to be clear, being an independent artist, and this is something we're going to cover in the next 2 episodes. Being an independent artist is not a guarantee that things are going to be easy, because you're going to have to do a lot of the work. But you know what? No, you know what? I'm going to leave that for the next time. I ain't even going to get into that. I ain't going to get into that because I'm already thinking like Cheat Code. Anybody who watches the Cheat Code, shout out to Ferrari Simmons, shout out to Wendy Day, shout out to Kingpin. They have an excellent platform where they basically tell you all of the things you need to know to be successful in this music business. And one of the things they say is, if you're going to do this, you should put yourself in a position. It would behoove you to learn as many aspects of this game as possible. Whether you end up handling those things or not, you should still know how to do it. You should still know how to do it. If you're going to be independent. Know the game. Learn the game. Talk to people who know more than you. It's important, you know what I mean? So, Anonymous Touch, he said, I got used to doing things alone, made it hard for me to want help. Trust me, I totally understand that. I completely and totally understand that. It's hard for those of us who are used to doing so much on our own to ask for help. But none of us, I said it last week when it came to the whole thing about nowhere, from a spiritual perspective, from a practical perspective in this music business, you cannot do this on your own. When I tell you I hate the term self-made, I hate it with a passion because it's not true. And I need artists to stop saying that. You are not self-made. You did not do this by yourself. Now now independent is different because you're independent from the majors. But to say self-made, no, you're not self-made. You did a lot of the work, but you did not make yourself. You might have had your own vision for what you wanted to do, but you did not make yourself. You did not make it by yourself. There's no way. Somebody helped you. We need help. And that's why I go back to exactly, Shane. Self-made is a false narrative. It's a false narrative. No way you can make it by yourself. No way you are made on just your own. No way. That's why I go back to the ecosystem. That's why we have to tap in with the ecosystem and we have to support one another. That's how us as independent artists succeed. That's how we thrive. And not just, us getting support from other people. We have to be willing to support other people ourselves. I'm so glad my man Shane is in here. Shout out to my main man Chels on the check-in. You know what I'm saying? I'm so glad my man Shane is in here because he always says when other people, he's an artist himself, but when other people put out projects, he always says, I get just as excited as if it's my own project. And I'm the same way. When Hustle and Motivate came out, I got just as excited as if it was my own project. Now, granted, I was on a project, but even if I wasn't, because I fool with my man Shane the long way. I fool with him as a person. I respect what he does. I respect his grind. And whether he and I were friends or not, I will support him in that way. Because if I see another artist trying to rise up, trying to get to a certain level, I'm going to throw my weight behind him. You know what I'm saying? I told a young lady, and I wish she was on this live, but Michelle the artist, she actually was just on an episode of The Neighborhood on CBS, one of my favorite shows on CBS. Just on an episode of The Neighborhood, I want to say it was last week. And I've never met her a day in my life. Never met her. I haven't even had that many interactions with her. But when I saw that she had that opportunity, I instantly shared it because that's great news for the village. She's an independent artist and she's out there on a freaking major CBS show, like a highly rated CBS show, getting opportunities. Another sister, I think her name is Chantal Williams. She got four of her songs licensed by both the NFL. I think it's both the NFL and NBA, or maybe it was just the NBA. I think it was just the NBA. But either way, even if it's just the NBA, do you know how big that is to get your music licensed by the NBA and not just get one song, 4 songs? She fitting to freaking get that sync money like a mug, Slim. You know what I'm saying? But again, I don't really know her like that. But because we got connected, and you know what I'm saying, and this is through a platform, once again, shout out to Air It Out Radio. Like, I've met so many of the people that I know through Air It Out Radio. You know what I'm saying? And that's a sister I met through that platform. And even though I've never met her, I don't know her from a can of paint, but because we're connected, I shared it instantly. Because my thing is, we have to celebrate the village. When the village does well, when it's somebody that's truly a part of the village, we gotta celebrate those wins. That's how each and every last one of us rise up. Every last one of us rise up. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. That's how us on this Independence Avenue, that's how we thrive and really drive and, you know what I'm saying, have our best ride as an independent artist. When we support one another, it's reciprocal, you know. So I'm going to end it there. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Anonymous, she said, that's amazing. I'm so happy for it. Me too. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, Jamar said, me too. Exactly. Yes. Appreciate all of the support, all of the comments. Shane, he's going back to a couple comments. He said, failure, definitely a solo project. Yes. That's real. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I'm gonna end this part of the discussion here. Went a little longer than I expected, but you know, look, when it's flowing, when the conversation flows, I just let God talk through me when it comes down to it, because you know, these are things that needed to be said. I'm sure that anybody who watches this on a replay, they're gonna get some kind of value out of just this first part of the conversation. Mind you, this is just the first part. There are 2 more parts coming in the next 2 weeks, but I wanted to lay it out for people to understand just how important this song is, not just for me and my journey, but for anybody who's an independent of any sort. There's so many of us independents out here, independent entrepreneurs who are doing it outside of the normal way of doing it or outside of the major system of doing things. Somebody's gonna get something out of this. And I'm sure, you know, the people that's watching, my folks that's watching on Instagram, my folks that's watching on YouTube, somebody's going to get something out of this. And I'm all praises due to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can really say, you know. So, and I appreciate you, Honey Wordsmith, and I appreciate you, Anonymous Touch. But for those of y'all who have yet to hear my latest EP, The Late Bloomer 2, Independence Avenue's track number 4 on this EP that has been out a little over actually not even a month yet. But it's out on all streaming platforms except Spotify. You can also get it on my website, bammllc.net/music. Or if you want 4 bonus tracks, 4, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, count them again, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can get it. Bandcamp. ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. Once again, ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. Appreciate everybody who has been supporting my music thus far, and everybody who will support my music moving forward. Because again, I'm an independent artist. I need all the support I can get. You know what I mean? So I appreciate everybody who has been buying. People who have bought my entire discographies that's really been blessing my spirit. You know what I mean? I got somebody commenting, hey, my main man Chels, he showed up on YouTube. So I got somebody on YouTube. YouTube's showing up now. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you, my brother. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I definitely appreciate all of the support. And of course, y'all know I also have merch. My hat that I'm wearing is not merch because, you know, I wanted to represent DC one time. But the shirt that I'm wearing is my merch. You know, this is actually in honor of my first single that I released this year. the Lincoln and Lincoln Job Fair. One half of the picture is actually the cover of that single. The other half is, you got one half where it's me thinking I'm gonna be an architectural engineer, thinking I'm gonna be a journalist, thinking I'm gonna be all of these different things. The how it started versus the how it's going. Me as a rapper, me as an artist, me as a producer, me as a creative. You know what I mean? And then at the bottom, for those who can see or can't see, it says late. You know what I'm saying? It happened when it happened. But even though I say late, it's really on time. But this is my merch. If you're interested in the merch, if you like what you see, and I got some more merch that's going to be coming, please make sure that y'all go to my website, bammllc.net/shop batch. Once again, bammllc.net/shop batch. I definitely appreciate all the support. And if you want to follow me all across the board on social media, if you're not already doing it already, I am on Facebook, Twitter at AJ Throwback, on Instagram, TikTok at a.j.throwback, and on YouTube at AJ Throwback 928. If you want to follow the merch, batch.202 on Facebook and Instagram. Once again, that's Facebook, Instagram, batch.202. On Twitter, it's batch_202. And I appreciate everybody for all of the follows, all the support. And as my newest brand ambassador, Anonymous Touch, said, merch is fire. With a whole bunch of target emojis. You know what I'm saying? It's on point. You know what I mean? So I definitely appreciate everybody who has supported the merch so far. I appreciate all of my brand ambassadors who've been brand ambassadors. Shout out to my first brand ambassador, Sierra Lene. My man Chels is a brand ambassador as well. And of course, my sis, Anonymous Touch, a proud brand ambassador, my newest brand ambassador. And she done hit the ground running, y'all. So I definitely appreciate it. And that's about it. Next week, we're going to get into the second part, because I'm kind of breaking this thing down in 3 parts. So really the second part or the middle part of Independence Avenue, we're going to dig a little bit more into kind of sort of my own personal trajectory toward being independent. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this was the first part was the slavery narrative or the slavery connection. But now this part is kind of sort of getting to more so who I am as an independent artist and what's kind of led to me being an independent artist. So that's going to be next week. But before we get to next week, also, whether you're a DMV artist or not, this Tuesday, of course, we started episode 1 last week with me and my homie Ray Gideon Peoples. Episode 2 of the Return to Black Broadway podcast will be airing this Tuesday, October 11th, 2022, starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that will only be on the Return to, the number 2, Black Broadway YouTube channel. We're going to be welcoming fellow DMV artist A. Kev, talking to him about his verse on the song and also just his connection to the whole Return to Black Broadway movement. And shout out to speaking of, it's like I said, Return to Black Broadway, and it's like I put out the bat signal because my man Uptown XO just tapped in on the check-in on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Definitely looking forward to having him on the podcast as well. We got to get with you, brother, about getting you on pretty soon whenever you and Sniper, because we want to bring both of y'all on at the same time. And then my sis, Tori Lux on Instagram joined. I appreciate you for tuning in as well. Just wrapping up this broadcast about Independence Avenue off of the Late Bloomer 2. But yes, the Return to Black Broadway podcast this Tuesday, October 11th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is on the Return to number 2 Black Broadway YouTube channel. So if you haven't already subscribed to that channel, please make sure that you do so as well. I actually, on my website, if you go to the home page, I have the first episode on the home page, so you can go there and you can actually connect to YouTube from there. And if you haven't already subscribed, you can go ahead and subscribe from there. I think I got another comment. Yes, my man Chels, you know what I'm saying, Batch for life. Absolutely And my man Chels also has his own merch as well, so please, if you're not following him on social media, on Instagram, he is I am Chells X. So that's IAMCHELLSX on Instagram. My man got some inspiring, awesome merch. Y'all gotta plug in with him, and then he just has just great platforms all the way around. You know what I'm saying? That's my homie right there. You know what I'm saying? Through my man Shane, of course. It's Tribe all day. So until next week, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to another episode of The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. I'm your man AJ Throwback, and until next Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hopefully without the technical difficulties. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all week. Enjoy, if you're off tomorrow, enjoy Indigenous Peoples Day, because we don't celebrate Columbus Day no more. Black people, we really should have never been celebrating Columbus Day. You know what I mean? But enjoy your day off. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend upcoming. And I will see y'all next Sunday for another episode of The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. Thank you, everybody on YouTube, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody on Instagram, for tuning in. See y'all next week. Peace.